My name is Carron Little, and I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Women's History Center. And I also work with an international collective of feminist artists dedicated to working in public space. And I have a poetry and performance practice that I combine together. And today I'm going to be talking about an interactive performance project that I've been doing on pay inequity and calculating pay inequity. But I'm going to start, I want to start by doing a land acknowledgement and acknowledge that I am transmitting in this Zoom room from the lands of the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, and the Council of Three Fires.
Wow.
And our land that I reside on was co-founded by Kitahawa Point du Sable, who was the partner of Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. And they were the indigenous founders of this land. I would like to invite you all to write in the chat what land you reside on. So feel free to do that. And it would also be great to hear about what time zone you're in right now. And also, I'd like to invite you all to kind of say 2 or 3 words about how you're feeling right now, so I can gauge this presentation. So
Don't know how to get there.
so the chat function is one of the icons at the bottom of
Oh,
the bar. And
land.
you can write.
They could hear you.
Okay. New. Record Zoom. Close. Mute. 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 Ah. Found it.
Thank you, Gloria, for sharing. The Tohono Autumn Land, is that how I pronounce
That's pretty close, sure.
Yes.
And it's Chuksong,
Chuksong.
but Tucson in English.
Oh, thank you, Diane. Sorry to hear of your loss. That is tough.
Thank you. Yes, it's been the 2 deaths have been very hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sending you lots of strength as you go through this time.
Thank you.
Here, on the space button, and you're on mute.
Okay. So I can't use the chat easily.
Yes,
well, my site. So I'm going to say Potawatomi is the land I'm on, their land in general. It's probably not specific enough. And you asked how we're feeling?
Yes.
I think accumulated shock since January 20th
Mm.
of the level of cruelty of the present administration. I'm in shock.
Yeah. I definitely, yes, I think we're all feeling a little bit of PSTD at the current situation. It's very traumatizing. So thank you all for sharing. So I'm going to start by jumping in. So for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, my name is Carron Little, and I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Women's History Center, and I work as an interactive performance artist. And I work with the collective Out of Sight Chi, and we're a group of feminist artists from around the globe who are dedicated to working in public spaces. Today, I'm going to just share a few slides and talk about one of the projects that I've been doing since 2013 and kind of talk a little bit, you know, about how it was born. So let me, and just to kind of let you all know that Chicago Women's History Center website is an educational resource. It has oral histories on the second wave feminist movement, and it has the downloadable Women Building Chicago, and we're honored to have one of the co-editors, Rima Lunan-Schultz, in the room with us today. So that is a resource, an educational resource. And I first connected with Chicago Women's History Center through this public performance project about a women's collective that existed in Chicago called Women Mobilized for Change, that existed from 1966 to 1974. And you can see in these two pictures, two original members. This is Roberta Wilson, who was an original member in the 1960s to 1970s. And this is Norma Flynn. And this group was co-founded by Abina Joan P. Brown and Coretta Scott King, and was part of the part of Martin Luther King's move to Chicago in 1966. And they were very instrumental in passing housing legislation. I could do a whole talk on this group, but I'll move on. And so in 2019, well, actually, I was flying to New York to participate in the National Women in the Arts Committee that was part of the College Arts Association. And I was aware that it was going to be the centennial anniversary of suffrage the following year. And so I knew that we had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. And then as I sat down with this phenomenal group of women, a brainwave came into my mind, and I could see the process of how we could make it happen. And this was the 50-50 initiative. And this was an initiative to facilitate for 50% representation of women-centered scholarship that address the intersectional and transnational complexity of race, class and gender and sexuality in the arts. And it was very transformational policy in terms of creating more equitable representation at the College Arts Association in 2020. And we gathered over 250 feminists from around the world to celebrate at Columbia College. This is part of my own ongoing work as a feminist artist. And in 2013, I was given a real working bank in Chicago. And you might wonder, how did you get a real working bag? Well, it was opened up as a historical building as part of Open House Chicago. And it was given to Eden Unwata Foley to curate different performances and exhibitions in the historic neighborhood of Uptown. And I continued to work with Eden I continue to work with him. But I did 3 consecutive projects in Uptown from 2013 to 2015, and they all looked at pay equity and education equity. And here you can see a check written by the Queen of Luxuria, which is my performance persona, where I'm calculating what people haven't been paid during their working lives due to pay inequity. And I'm going to just switch here and stop sharing my slides and play a little video for you all. So bear with me while I reshare my screen. Oh, and now it's disappeared from my window. Okay. Back to Zoom and just prick it up. Now, it might have the sound at the beginning of this, it might be a little bit loud. So just beware, and you might need to alter your audio. That wouldn't save plus more.
Hello? Oh, wonderful. Wow, excellent. Good job. This card entitles you to a visit with the Queen of Luxuria. A Queen card, and this enables you to see the Queen when she comes, and she'll be here in a moment. Otherwise, you can go and play another game. You're trying to get it right there. Okay. Almost, one more time. And wow, very good. That's very close. This is a card that allows you to visit. See, this is really an exciting day. Bye.
I don't think we're seeing your
No.
video.
No?
I'm not seeing a video. I have something about Vimeo on my screen and
I
And
see a ceiling only, yeah.
the sound probably needs to be optimized for sound. You know how to do that?
Yes. Okay, let me see if this. Oh. Yeah, it's not, for some reason. see. Saying it, my screen is paused. Well, I could send the link of that performance. It's not, thinking about it, it's not, it's a short video that documents the interactive element. So it's quite hard to follow if you're visually impaired, because there's not a dialogue describing what's going on. But basically, what happened is I created these 3 games. One was chess, one was based on, they were all inspired by Duchamp. There was a ready-made game and a kind of Jenga style game. And then the public would receive a card, like a game card. And that would give them permission to go meet with the Queen of Luxuria. And let me go back to sharing my slides and I can show you the setup. Let me bring that up. So here you can see, can everybody see this?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So this is a game. So I've created this performance, so it's like a game with these sculptural gendered pieces. One is for male, female, and LGBTQ. And so people can choose their gender plate and place it on the different parts of the game board. And then I calculate what people haven't been paid due to these. Now, every time I do the performance, there's the statistics of pay equity have shifted or changed. And the current data says that pay equity won't happen for another 130 years, depending on what you're reading. But that was a recent statistic from The Guardian. And so the current statistics for Black women are 70 cents to the dollar. Asian women earn 93 cents to the dollar. Hispanic women, 65 cents to the dollar. Native women earn 51 cents to the dollar. White women, 83 cents to the dollar. Disabled women, 67 cents to the dollar. LGBTQ women, 79 cents to the dollar, and LGBTQ men, 90 cents to the dollar. And so these statistics have been collated from the Pew Institute, and the Pew Institute doesn't share the information about LGBTQ pay and equity. So I sourced that from another website that is investigating this as an inequity, as a pay inequity. So so I use this data to then calculate. I invite people to share with me the number of working years. And then this enables me to calculate the sum that somebody hasn't received during their working lives due to pay inequity. And and then I collate all the data, and then everybody receives a check. And if it's a young person, I calculate how much they're going to have to pay for university when they're 18 years old. So there's, you know, different way just in terms of calculating how much college fees have gone up since 2000. So, and as you can see, I last did this performance or this interactive experience at the Beverly Arts Center on September 24th or 28th last year. And it, you know, once the word got out, everybody wanted to participate. So I had a long line of Black women, especially wanting to participate. And this is, I also just wanted to plug, while I'm here talking with you all, that I'm organizing this upcoming conference in Chicago called Past and Present Strategies to Advance the Rights of Women. And this is organized by Chicago Women's History Center and co-sponsored by the Black Metropolis Research Consortium, Evanston History Center, the Women in Leadership Archives at Loyola University, Skyline Village, and we are delighted to also partner with WILPF US to celebrate the 110th anniversary of WILPF. So that is my little spiel for today. And I will put links to all of this in the chat. And then, yeah, I'll open it up for questions.
Well, thank you, Carron. Carron, that was great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Okay, so let me see if I can see if there are any questions. Cheryl Spencer has one. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm a founding member of the National Museum of Women in the Arts in New York City. I assume you're familiar with that institution. I've been paying my dues to them for, I don't know, 40 years. I don't live in New York City, but every time I go there, usually for a physics meeting, I make sure to sneak away for a couple of hours to visit the museum. And they have some performance art, and they have out on New York Avenue, they actually had they've had sculptures over the years. So I'm just, you know, and it was started by this lady who 45 years ago realized that the regular museums didn't have women artists represented, and so she and her husband went around and bought women artists. So do you ever do anything with them? Have you got you've got a Chicago chapter of that museum, I think?
Of
National Museum of Women in the Arts.
the National Museum of Women in the Arts is in Washington. Yes, is it the same one?
Sorry, you're right. Washington on New York Avenue. Yes, pardon me.
Yeah. We don't have an equivalent in Chicago per se, but we do have Women Made Gallery. And we actually just did an oral history with Beata Minkowski, who's the co-founder of Women Made. And yeah, I did a performance that I toured in the US and in different parts of Europe from 2018 to 2019. And I created the finale performance at Women Made Gallery. And it was just such a wonderful experience. So that was very special and a really warm, you know, huge group of people turned out, so that was great. Yeah.
Good.
And
Thank you.
actually that piece was inspired by Brett Kavanaugh being elected to the Supreme Court, and I used it to, and actually I've just published this book of poetry, and I can read you the poem if you would like. Would you like to read the poem?
Sure, thanks.
Um, so I was invited to do a project called Spare Rib Revisited in Lucerne, Switzerland and Liverpool, UK. And with this project, I interviewed women between the ages of 20 to 100. And then after the interview, I wrote poems. So this poem is for Sylvia Hickens, and it's called If My Body Were You. And a little bit about Sylvia Hickens. She's a poet, an artist, a musician, but she was also placed on the blacklist, on Thatcher's blacklist, for her anti-war work. And she worked at Liverpool University, and throughout her life, she didn't get promotion because of her being on this blacklist, because the Chancellor of Liverpool University was a Conservative. But she's been, and she was also involved in Greenham Common, which I hope some of you all know about. So, if my body were bound between two sleeves of a book jacket, what would it say? Would it perform out of the page, or would it remain stitched between the sleeves, hoping to reach prosperity, stamped in different languages? If my body were you, what would you say? Would you dance on army tankers in the fresh morning dew, or write dreams on pillow slips? Would you look the policeman in the eye who defied humanity as he stabbed me in the left shoulder with a sharp metal fork? Would your body bear witness to history, stitched with the scars marking the date, sending viral news stories across media channels? Would your body listen to the visible spectacle, wearing an orange jacket, flashing alarm bells, marking the target? Would your body listen to the violence of history, pass down the line of a ringtone written in Morse code? A war won, a war lost, it's all the same when the bombs drop, killing our children, destroying our homes, lives lost in the wreckage. Would your body listen to the ghosts buried in this city? Would your body listen to the needs of this city? Walking in numbers, performing in silence, counting hospital beds, wearing white doctors' coats. What does your body need? What does it need stitched between pages and words, if not liberty? A life dedicated to tomorrow. Tell me, what does that look like? Tell me, speak it. Tell me, speak it. Thank you. So that's one of the poems from the Spare Rib Revisited project. You know, and Yeah, if anybody would like to send me your final salary and identify identify yourself in terms of the criteria of male, female, or LGBTQ, and the number of working years and your address, I can mail you a check in the mail. So I have a special check
Well,
that's made, and I can mail these out to people. So
I just have a question about the housewives who don't work. How do you handle that?
well, it's working life, isn't it? It's still, so I probably think about the well, yeah, that's a very difficult question. I've not come across that one, Diane. Thanks for
Oh,
I'll have to
sorry.
come up with a theory or an equation for that.
Oh, we need that.
Yeah, maybe an average. Maybe take an average salary and times it by your working years.
Well,
So,
I've just heard that in Mexico, women between the ages of 60 and 65 are getting these checks for working their whole life. So I don't know much about it, but I think that's very interesting.
I think somebody has done that exercise, and they have taken like the number of hours that a stay-at-home person has spent chauffeuring their children to and from school or to and from extracurricular activities, and said that many hours a week times a chauffeur's salary, and then how many hours they spent cooking, so many hours times a chef salary. And so you can add all those up, how many times doing first aid on your children's grazed knee, so somebody's done that. They've done that, and they've come up with quite a lot of money that a housewife, house mother,
yeah.
is worth actually per week.
Well, it's
Like,
really interesting because like a retired person, a retired woman, is receiving over $1 million, in the amount that she hasn't received due to pay inequity over her working life. So, yeah, Genevieve, hello again. Lovely to see you.
Hi, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I was just wondering though, how do we calculate again? Maybe I had to come in a little bit late, so I didn't know if you put the formula in the chat or exactly how we calculate.
Well, so if you send me your final salary and identify which category you come into, and send me your working year, the number of working years, then I can make the calculation and mail you a check in the post for the amount that you have not received during
Can
your
we cash it?
at the Bridgeview Bank. Uh,
I thought, is it Dasha? I thought you had a question, but maybe not anymore. I don't know.
No, I didn't have a question, but I do want to say that I just looked up on the internet and it says the 2019 data from salary.com says that a housewife, if they were paid, would earn about $205,000 a year based on the different tasks that they do. Also, that generally speaking, it's a 14-hour day. So that's 98 hours a week, blah, blah, blah. So managing household, et cetera, all of those things, other things that Carron had mentioned. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there are no other questions, we'll go on to the rest of the meeting. And thank you, Carron, so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Diana, are you going to tell us how to send this to Karen?
Oh, is it in the chat?
I didn't see it in the chat. Or maybe because I joined late. Just
So if you here's my email. If you send me I'm going to write the list while you're all chatting. I'll write the list in the chat.
Okay,
you
thank
need
you.
to send me, and then yes, then I can make the calculation and pop some checks in the mail to you all.
Maybe you could put the URL for what you wanted to show us in there too.
Yes, I will do.
And so this thing on the 22nd of March at 2 p.m. Remind us, what is that?
Or it's not at it's a full day actually. It starts at 9:30 to 5:30. So it's Chicago Women's History Conference. And the theme for this year is past and present strategies to advance the rights of women. And we've got through the partner organizations, and we have selected scholars and community activists. So there's 15 panels that people can choose from throughout the day. And we've also got a very exciting keynote speaker that we're hoping to announce soon. And we've also got an interesting thing happening for the plenary. And we're delighted that WILPF is going to be a co-sponsor to celebrate the 110th anniversary. And they're also going to, Mary Beth and your new president, Linda, and Dasha are kindly installing an exhibition to celebrate the 110th anniversary. And we'll have another exhibition by Chicago History Museum called Rights and Responsibilities. And so it's it's going to be an exciting day. And it's a hybrid conference. So some of the sessions will be in Zoom as well throughout the day. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions about that? Let me put the link, I'll put the link to that in the chat as well. So let me pull up.
So Mary Beth, I did a big exhibition for WILPF's 100th anniversary. I could, you know, which I showed at our Detroit meeting when we met in person. If you want me to.
Do you still have, do you still have the pieces of it?
We have the small version and the large version. We have, you know,
Could you send me
16 by 5.
pictures?
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out the most economic way to get a display sent to Chicago. So there are a lot of posters available in Des Moines that we could use, but it would be instructive to see what you guys did for the 100th, and maybe there's pieces of it that we can use for this.
Right. I'll make a note to email you about that.
Thank you.
Could we hear from Rima what her panel is?
It's called Beyond the Second Wave, Florence Gala. Rima, are you able to, is Richard around so he can unmute? Because you're muted. Oh,
You just did it.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, unmute her.
Oh, yes, no. Sorry, Rima, we can't hear you. So she's doing a panel with Anne Keating on
Okay.
the work of
I
There
think,
she is.
am I unmuted now?
yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's before the second wave, women activists in a working class neighborhood, Florence Scala, I believe is, I don't know, it's about Florence Scala and the and her movement to challenge urban renewal in her neighborhood.
It's very big in the 60s and 70s. I remember seeing her on TV in Chicago. It was a very grassroots movement.
Yes, it was an important grassroots movement, and she also ran for a local political office several times, and was an important community organizer in the late 1930s. And we're going to talk about her early life, and we're going to show parts of a video of Florence when she was about 75 years of age. She spoke to a group of elementary school teachers in the local elementary school that she had attended as the child of immigrants in the neighborhood. And they were celebrating their 100th anniversary as an elementary school in Chicago, and she came to celebrate with them. And someone in her family made a video of her doing so, and we're going to show Florence. And this is something that
You muted yourself.
Did it again.
There you are.
okay. So we will show the parts of the video of Florence Scala, premiere it for the first time, and talk about her.
So I had a question. What is the second wave, or what is the first? I don't know what.
Well, the first wave, of course, no, not of course, but the first wave was the long 75+ year battle to get women's suffrage. And Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, something that starts in 1848, technically, and ends with 1920. The second wave, I guess, hard to give it an exact time frame, but certainly beginning with Betty Friedan's publication of The Feminine Mystique in 1963 and going into the 70s. And I don't know exactly when to end it, but certainly the modern effort to pass the ERA amendment would be part of it. Certainly it has to do with the Roe v. Wade and the Supreme Court decision, but that's second wave feminism.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So Florence comes just before, in a period in the 1940s and 50s, the general feeling was that women were, after World War II, wanting to be housewives and get back to a kind of normal life, suburbia, taking care of their children, ending their period of patriotism, working, Rosie the Riveter was no longer the poster child. Daycare centers had been closed after World War II. Very little was known about how women were striving to become part of trade unions and continued their work. And so it's often thought of as a kind of a fallow period where there was women weren't very active. And historians are now rethinking that And we know very little, of course, about working class life because of the narrative of history generally is from middle class and ruling class. The elite people write history. Working class people work. So when Betty Friedan tells about suburban women being isolated and not having careers and sort of dreaming about doing something more than just being home and maybe not being as happy as they're supposed to be, working class women were working all the time. They were working, they were owning property, they were doing very different kinds of things. And in the city of Chicago, there were a number of community organizers who were women and who were important from the post-World War II period. And Florence Scala is just one of them. And we want to see her in this context. She's generally known. In fact, the interesting thing about it is that the newspapers were eager to portray her as a housewife. A housewife who was fighting Mayor Daley. In truth, she was so much more than that. And we're going to talk about her organizing abilities, the relationship she had with Saul Alinsky, the fact that she had been involved in organizing in the late 40s and early 50s in the neighborhood, something called the Near West Side Planning Board, which was one of the first efforts by local community leaders to create a plan for renewal and upgrading of their own neighborhood without gentrification that would have them lose their homes. So they wanted to improve, but stay in the neighborhood. And so it was an interracial, actually, an interethnic organization. And she was one of the prime leaders in it. And this was before even there was a thought that the university was going to come there. And that doesn't happen until later. But she is involved in this very early and unique effort in the United States for local people to plan their own community's future. And so that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay, that's
As
great.
a preview.
Thank
And
you.
I know that Gloria is also going to give a presentation at the conference.
I jumped the gun and actually put something about, oh, I misspelled a name. I'm really good on these. Hold on. Pump balls.
But I know Judith Hand has her hand up.
Go ahead, Judith, and then I'll talk about a couple sentences about mine.
Well, the talk of first wave feminism and then second wave feminism brings to my mind actually a question. Nobody is mentioning a third wave feminism, and I'm not up to date on all the feminist literature, but since Rima didn't mention a third wave,
There is a third wave.
Pardon?
There certainly is a third wave.
What is the third wave? Because maybe I'm going to suggest a fourth wave.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, this is either a third wave or a fourth wave. I envision that now the time is right because the global conditions that are different from even the last century. The global conditions now are really in very perilous circumstances because ecologically things have changed. The world is full. It's full of people that occupy every square inch of habitable land, so that there's no place to go. We're not going to Mars anytime soon. So this is a completely different global situation we're now living in. And my vision is that it is time now for a third or fourth wave, whatever you want to call it, in that women are positioned now and sophisticated enough now and have enough powerful positions at all kinds of levels that they can step up to the global level of activism. And by global level, I mean we need a paradigm shift. Continuing to use violence to resolve conflicts at every level, something has to go. Something has to change. We have to have a different worldview. And it will be women, in my view, who are the only ones able to birth that different worldview. They must step up to the global level and figure out different creative ways to say this enough already. We have to go in a new way. And if there's enough of the women doing that, you could call that a third or fourth wave of feminism.
Here, here. And I have to say that we have somewhat of the beginning of a blueprint of that global cosmic understanding in actually Jane Addams writing about what happened at The Hague in 1915 at that Women's Congress that was the lead up to the start of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, because she was really calling for a new world order. There could not be the kind of peace that and the kind of conflict resolution without violence that she understood was absolutely essential for the future of humanity, without the kind of social change systemically that included having the people in the societies that were part of the belligerent nations and the neutral nations, but the people themselves had to be involved in organizing and in speaking about what they wanted to have happen to create negotiations, and that that peace had to come from a change in the social order in all of the countries of the world, changes in what people meant by patriotism, really a paradigm shift. And she lists, and the women at that Hague actually list a series of things that they think must be part of a strategy. And it's well worth reading it again, actually.
I keep telling people to read Jane Addams and they don't do it. I keep saying, read Jane Addams, read Jane Addams.
The thing about Jane Addams is she was way, way before her time. Back in the time of Jane Addams, there were not enough powerful, educated women to do the work that would have to be done. But we have enough powerful and educated women now to rise up, to unite and rise up and say, we are going to change it.
Yes.
Very good. Do I get to talk about my panel? I'm still waiting. The panel that I'm giving is about the zero wave, because this woman was from a different kind of global feminism. She was an immigrant who wrote in English and Czech and started the first all-women-run business in Chicago, the Bohemian Women's Print Shop in the 1890s. First all-feminine owned and operated women's business. There may be some challenger to that, but so far she's got it. She was harassed by the Bohemian men who were printers. They didn't like this. But anyway, she was a co-founder of Hull House. She was there pretty close to the very start, but she's been forgotten. And the reason has to do with Anglophone. She wrote in other languages as well as English. So I believe she went back to Bohemia. She died very young. I'm not going to tell my whole panel, but she was lecturing in Bohemia in the 1890s and around 1900 after she left Chicago, having started the first all-female owned business. went back to Bohemia, up and down the length of Bohemia, which is Czech Republic now, lecturing on education for women, suffrage, and everything. And they loved her so much in the Czech Republic, they put up a big monument to her. So that is unknown here. The people of Chicago, WILPF, no one knew it, but over there, they knew what she did. So we're going to try to put her back into our WILPF history. And thank you for that chance to talk about it.
And Josepha Humpel-Zeman, tell her name her.
She's in the chat, Josepha Humpel-Zeman. And I think Zeman was the man she divorced. And that was a sad tale where they had a baby, and due to hardship, that baby died. And that's when she came to trying to live as a single woman with a child who died, and came to Chicago.
Okay, well, thank you, Gloria. So I now I'm gonna go to the regular Jane Addams meeting, and that's when I have first of all, I usually have some open it up to the board if anybody from the board wants to speak. And is there anyone who wants to say anything? I know Mary Beth is maybe the only person that's on the board that's on this call right now that I see.
Tina. Hi, Diane, I'm here.
Oh, Tina. Yes, of course. Tina,
As
you're
well
on
as
the
Mary
board.
Beth. I don't think I have anything to say. I don't mean to be jumping ahead of you, Mary Beth, but I didn't.
No worries.
Other than if you haven't seen the new website, take a look at it. It's been up for a little over a month. It's at the same URL, so wherever you went to the website, take a look at it. And I'm sure Mary Beth might talk about our other big announcement. I think that's all. Thanks.
Yes, after almost 2 years and an exhaustive search effort, we have selected a new executive director for WILPF, Linda Lowe, and she will be starting on March 3rd. She's already representing us, though. She met with the Triangle branch in Durham, North Carolina, earlier this month, and she's planning to meet in April, I think, with the Philadelphia and possibly the Pittsburgh branch. We'll see. So she's currently traveling the last bit of her former employment, and she's receiving an award as a Global Rotary Fellow in Istanbul, Turkey this week. And everywhere she's going these days, she's representing WILPF and trying to make us more visible and do outreach. So she's I think you're all going to really like her. In addition to being extremely experienced and skilled, she's a very personable, easygoing, fun person who has great vision for WILPF in the next 5 to 10 years. That's it.
Great. I see Genevieve here, and usually I don't ask staff if they want to say something, but Genevieve, did you want to say something? Because you're a development person.
Well, we're busy planning for the 110th anniversary, which will be officially April 28th, 2025. And Diane, we did want to pick your brain a bit. I think DASA is going to contact you, but with the August gathering, it was so amazing. And so we want to understand your outreach skills to all of WILPF, because I think there was over 100 people, and a lot of people showed up for that. Thank you.
Oh, we put out a lot of e-alerts and things like that, and had everyone speak, the staff, everyone. So it was great, I thought. Okay. So now issue committee chairs, and I know that Disarm is certainly represented here. So Cheryl, go ahead.
Yes, I was actually putting my hand up to ask about this April the 28th event. It's a Monday.
It's a
Is
Monday night. Yes, we're doing an online 1 hour event. It's going to be more of a celebration, celebrating our history, but also looking forward. And we're trying to land some pretty big speakers, performers, spoken word. So it should be a very fun, energetic event, but also trying to reflect the meaningful work and the impact of our work, and also looking forward. So we would love for everyone to.
like it will be more than an hour.
No, we're like bam, 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 bam. We're trying to make it really like fast moving, but then we're going to stay on. The official presentation is going to last an hour, but then we're inviting all WILFers, who are on the Zoom, to stay after for an after hours soiree. I just was talking about that with Mary Beth. She says, that sounds like we're going to show up with a bunch of guitars and, with our wine and whatever, which may happen. So
Anyway, we should all mark. I've just put it down
Yes.
in my diary.
Thank
We should
you.
all keep. So it would be like what, 5 o'clock in the West Coast and 8 o'clock in the
Eastern.
East Coast, that kind of time
Yes.
frame. All right, everybody. April the 28th, Monday, April the 28th. Write that down now. Save that evening,
Thank
please.
you.
This is going to be an event that is going to be upbeat and kind of WILF, valuing itself and its members, kind of a celebratory look at the last 110 years and the work that we're doing now. And if you had anybody at all that has any interest in becoming more engaged in the face of all of the clown car activity in DC, and you think that they might find a political organizing home in WILF, this event would be a good thing to share with them and invite them to attend, because it will show us in the very best light and talk about what we've accomplished and who we are and why we are strong, feisty women.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to put it in my diary. I'm actually not going to be away. So that's all right. So that was why my hand is up, but I can now talk about the Disarm End Wars Issue Committee. The most exciting thing that just happened was this morning at 1 a.m. there was a test launch of an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, from the Vandenberg Space Force Base. Vandenberg is, I like to say, in central California, this coast. It's north of Santa Barbara, south of San Luis Obispo. And these test launches of an unarmed ICBM happen 4 times a year. This is one of the ICBMs that normally sit in silos in the center of what you might call the mountain states of the US, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, Colorado. There are 400 underground silos out there where each one contains an ICBM. These are the very dangerous in various ways to all of us, because these are the ones that whoever the current president is, if he's told there's an attack coming from an enemy using their ICBMs, he has about 20 minutes to decide if he's going to let ours off, okay? Because everybody knows where these silos are. We know where the Russian silos are. We know where some of the Chinese silos are. And so their ICBMs will be aiming for our silos. So we've got to let off our ICBMs before theirs arrive. Because they're going to arrive. They're going to ruin swaths of Montana and South Dakota, etc. Anyway, it's a part of the nuclear weapon triad, as we call it, that even the military doesn't particularly like them, because they're sitting ducks, because they would be destroyed even if there was a sneak attack. Anyway, so we have a demonstration outside the gates of the Vandenberg Space Force Base. And this time we had a young man who had a good iPhone, and we had a Zoom meeting. So McGregor, who is part of our disarm committee, set up a Zoom meeting, and we had 14 people at least who came onto Zoom at 10 p.m. last night, so we could watch them standing at the gate waiting for the launch, and we heard them speak and we could speak to them, and the launch actually happened at 1 a.m. So they stuck it out, and those of us on the West Coast stuck it out on the Zoom. And this is all, there'll be a photograph. So I submitted, this is part of the disarm article that I just submitted today to the e-news. Those of you with issue committees and what have you know that today at 2 o'clock today was the deadline for submitting your articles. So please, I always say this, please, everybody, when you get your e-news, do read all the articles and do follow them. You get a little paragraph in the actual email and then it says read more. You have to click on that and go and read the rest of it. Anyway, it was really, we've never had this link before and it worked very well. So happens that the young man who did this for us is called Wes Swanson. He's actually the son of David Swanson, who some of you will know is the executive director of World Beyond War, very large organization that we partner with. So he actually goes to college in San Luis Obispo. And apparently his father said, go down and help these people down the road. And so he turned up and we were able to. Now, we couldn't actually see the launch. They could hear it. You can always hear the launch because it's very loud when that rocket goes up. But anyway, we were their support group because there's about 8 of them, and it's dark and it's cold and it's the middle of the night, and you worry if the military police are going to come, and you have to be careful where you stand because if you stand in the wrong place, they'll arrest you. And so, anyway, to be able to be part of a Zoom with them really was really quite nice, and we'll probably try and do it again at the next ICBM. And of course, we're trying to get press releases out. We try to get the press there. Gloria talked to all kinds of media people, but nobody turned up, Gloria, in the middle of the night. But now we are trying to reach them with reports on what happened.
Ongoing
anyway.
too, I'm adding more each time.
Yes.
So.
So Gloria's going to be trying to push that, that the fact there's a protest against these ICBMs. Okay, I'll quit there. Thank you. That was, please read your e-news when it comes.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. So I think that's it for the issue committee chairs. And then I go to the branch leaders.
Doesn't Mary Beth want to speak?
Well, I think she already did. I don't know if she wants
about
to speak.
women, money, and democracy.
You can.
We had our annual planning meeting in early February, and we're working on developing 2 or 3 projects for the next year or two. Cheryl was at our meeting and suggested that we lift up a bit of education about how what the Treasury is, what it does, how it works, and how it connects with the IRS and the Federal Reserve. So that's one of the projects we'll be working on. It seems very timely. And there are a few others that we're looking at. Women, Money, and Democracy focuses on economic justice, feminist economic literacy, and in these days, programs that could offer creative solutions to some of the real problems that women and families are having. Thank you.
Gloria has her hand raised. Both hands. Go ahead.
I have a question for Mary Beth. I just got that post from Peggy Dobbins about the Sovereign National Wealth Fund, or, does that factor in that Donald Trump wants to create now?
Yeah, you're probably aware of the Sovereign Wealth Fund that exists in Alaska, which was set up many, many years ago. And it's essentially incentive to have the citizens of Alaska allow a lot of fossil fuel drilling because each of them receives kind of a dividend every year, somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a person, I think. But it's enough to make people think, well, yeah, we should keep drilling. Sure, let's keep doing that. And now Mr. Trump is talking about setting up the same kind of sovereign wealth funds in states where he wants to do more drilling. This is just a way of diabolically tying people's finances to the success of fossil fuel and oil drillers. It's not a good thing.
Okay, that seems very true. So is there anyone, next we go with anyone who wants to say anything or ask any questions or give any updates. This is your chance to speak. If you want to know something or are unhappy about something or just want to share something. Gloria has her hand raised again.
I just want to share something that's in the arts because those of you who don't know, I kind of am gathering people around in a collaborative work group. Can you see these? I don't know.
We saw them at first, but now we can't.
Wait.
So take it back. There.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the papers from Sensodyne toothpaste boxes. Oops, excuse me. And I make very special kind of bookmarks. See, they have a little tongue that makes them stay in better and a nice shiny thing. And I take them to my dentist and he gives them out. And this is a way to get rid of trash. It's recycling. I put them into packets, several of them in Christmas things or holiday, whatever, birthdays. So you can make all kinds of things out of boxes and trash. And these are custom. You can see all the cute little tassels. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because of the CCS committee, which is the Communications Access, Cultures and the Arts and Sensitization. It's not really a committee, a collaborative working group. There you go.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to say? If not, it is, it's been, I like the 1 hour things, Genevieve, but, I'm always open if someone wants to say something or have a question. And if not, I'll just say thank you all for attending, and especially our guest speaker, Carron. Thank you.
Thanks, Carron.
Yes, thank you, Carron.
And we'll
Go
have
Chicago, go.
Yeah. So we'll have another Jane Addams meeting, I think, a couple days before your event, but because it's on the third Wednesday. But we'll talk about it then too. We'll mention that on the next Jane Addams meeting. So thank you all for attending and have a wonderful evening.
You too, Diane. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
hosting.
Good
Thank you
night.
for hosting.
Oh, sure.